This video is the complete travel guide to Vietnam. I've been to this country twice now at this point, both for 30 days, and I think it's safe to say that I love this country so much that I'm sure I'll be back again for the third time. It is hands down one of my favorite countries in Southeast Asia. From the surreal landscape, the delicious food, a rich and crucial history, the warm, friendly locals, as well as the vibrant cities and authentic small town experiences, Vietnam is a country with a lot to offer for literally everyone. But before I get into this guide, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so yet to see more travel related content like these, and give this video a big thumbs up so that the YouTube algorithm pushes this video out to others who are looking for Vietnam travel tips just like yourself. As I mentioned, this is the complete travel guide to Vietnam, but just to give you a quick rundown, here's what I'll be covering. I suggest watching the entire video, but you're also more than welcome to skip it to a section. In the first part, I'll be talking about the visa and entry requirements for Vietnam, the currency, the transportation, accommodations, as well as things to do that you cannot miss. A tourist visa is required prior to entering the country, and you could apply online for this. It takes about 2 to 4 business days for it to get processed and approved. If you don't have this visa prior to boarding, the airline you're flying with has the right to refuse your boarding, so whatever you do, make sure you plan ahead for this. The other thing about this visa is that it is very important that you fill the correct information such as entry point and all that, as any error, even a minor spelling mistake on your name, if it doesn't match your passport, it could slow down the process. So you want to start doing this ahead of time with a bit of a window before your flight out to Vietnam. Trust me, the last thing you want is to leave this last minute and come across these issues, then having to be refused to get on your flight. The duration for the visa varies, but the most common ones are the 15-day, 30, and 90-day visas. The visa fee will set you back $25 or 34 Canadian dollars. Then the multiple entry will set you back $50 or 68 Canadian dollars. In addition, as of August 2023, Vietnam brought out a new visa exemption policy for 25 countries, mostly countries from Europe, but essentially people from these countries won't need to apply for a visa, and the duration of the stay can be anywhere between 14 to 45 days. So I suggest looking into this, especially if you're from Europe, to see if your country qualifies. But here's a list of the 25 countries. For those who need to apply, you may just Google Vietnam visa application and just click on the government site to apply for one. Make sure it's legit, as there are some sites where it's not the official one, but this one is what I've used the 2 times I've been in the country, and yes, these are legit visa application sites. Once your application had been processed and accepted, keep an electronic copy or a screenshot of it in your phone and laptop just in case. You don't need to print up a physical copy, but you're more than welcome to do so if you like. If you decided to choose a 15-day visa, I suggest picking either the northern part of Vietnam to explore or the southern part. Many make the mistake of doing one end to the other, which can be very stressful as you're moving a lot and not having the time to actually soak in the country and get the full experience. By picking one part of the country, I feel that you'd enjoy it more. Don't underestimate Vietnam, as it is a massive country and the country is just jam-packed with places you must visit. If I would suggest one part, I'd say hit up northern Vietnam. The landscape is stunning up there and it offers more authentic experiences. The middle of the country is also packed with cool cities and towns, and the south, well, that would be my last pick. But again, this is based on your preference. Regardless if you opt in on the 15-day visa, just pick a section or area and hit all the places from there. Besides, I'm confident you'll be back again in the country at some point. A couple more things: if you need to extend your visa, depending on how long you're looking to extend it and the passport you hold, it'll cost you from $10 and up. Lastly, just ensure your passport is valid for the next 6 months from the date of entry in the country, and that you have at least a few empty pages in your passport. Now let's talk about the currency. First and foremost, you'll have access to ATMs and currency exchange kiosks in most places, especially in the bigger established cities. Debit and credit cards are also widely accepted in hotels, hostels, restaurants, and so forth. The currency in Vietnam is called the Vietnamese dong, and it's a place where you're a millionaire, since $1 is roughly around 25,000 dong, or $200 is around 4.9 million dong in the time of making this video. So that means you'll be dealing with a lot of zeros here, which can be confusing at first when handling the Vietnamese currency during a transaction. When dealing with larger notes in any country, not just in Vietnam, take extra caution and make sure you're giving the right bill. 100,000 dong can be easily mistaken for 10,000 dong if you're not paying attention during a transaction, so just be mindful of this. Let's talk about the transportation and what you'll be using to get around within a city or moving from one city or town to the other. Vietnam is scooter country. This is the primary mode of transportation for both locals and tourists in the country. The roads of Vietnam is mainly dominated by them. I mean, it does make sense, as they are reliable and much easier to get around with as opposed to a large vehicle. If you feel comfortable and confident riding a scooter, I suggest renting one to get around within the city, as it's probably the most inexpensive inexpensive way to get around. Now, if you don't feel like you could ride a scooter in bigger, more established cities, you may use the Grab app to get around. It's like the Uber in the country. Also, for much smaller towns or villages, renting a bicycle will also be available and is a much more inexpensive option than a motorbike. These would be my recommendations when getting around within a town or city. Moving from one city to another, buses are the ones that's commonly used. There are two types of buses in Vietnam. There's a basic one and a VIP bus. Depending on the duration of the drive, I suggest going with a VIP bus for more privacy and, well, technically speaking, slightly more legroom. If you are on a budget, my tip would be to take an overnight sleeper bus as much as possible because it allows you to not pay for accommodation for the night, which stretches your budget even further. The other way to get around is to buy a motorcycle. Many travelers opt out on doing this as it offers more freedom, but essentially you could buy a motorcycle then sell it at your final destination. Many people do this going from north to south or vice versa. Definitely an adventurous way to make your Vietnam trip more memorable. Now let's talk accommodations. There's a wide range of accommodations for everyone from budget hostels to luxury. Hostels can be as low as 8 Canadian dollars or 6 US dollars, and private rooms in decent hotels can be as low as 50 Canadian dollars or 37 US dollars. Then luxury hotels can be as low as 100 Canadian dollars or 74 US dollars. These prices obviously vary depending on the location, but I just wanted to give you a rough estimate of the costs. And last but not the least, places and activities that you cannot miss. If you are here for 30 days or longer, you could do the country from south to north or vice versa. My preference would be doing it from south to north. I don't know why, but I just do. There are two major international airport hubs in the country. The one down south is in Ho Chi Minh City called Tan Son Nhat International Airport, and the one up north in Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, called Noi Bai International Airport. As I said, I'll be starting this from south to north, so you're most likely going to be in Ho Chi Minh City. You'll definitely feel the hustle and bustle of the country here in the fast-paced city. There are several things to do here, but let's start with the Cu Chi tunnels, a crucial part of the country's history of how it was like during the Vietnam War. Whether you're a history buff or not, this is a must-do in the city as it will give you a closer look of how it was during the Vietnam War in the country. A unique experience to say the least. Another cool experience and a must-do here is the Mekong Delta River. This is a day trip to one of the longest rivers in Southeast Asia and the 12th longest river in the world. Most tours will pick you up at your accommodation or anywhere in Ho Chi Minh of your choice. Then you'll head further down south just a few hours away, hop on a boat and go to small villages to witness the life around the river. The last thing I'd recommend is a city tour double-decker bus. At first I was skeptic as I typically like the freedom of exploring a place in my own ride or just by walking, but this was actually a cool experience. It takes you to other major sites in the city and gives you an awesome perspective of it. The great thing is that if you see a particular site that makes you want to visit, you could just note it down and visit it once you're done the tour. A few days is all you really need in Ho Chi Minh, and your next stop would be Munay, a sleepy fishing town along the coast of the south of central of Binh Thuan province of Vietnam. It's also known as a resort town with plenty of accommodations for tourists or locals to get away from the hustle and bustle of Ho Chi Minh. Munay is roughly around 3 to 4 hours away from Ho Chi Minh. The main thing to do here are the red sand cliffs of Munay's ferry stream. See the fishing village and the sand dunes. All can be done in a day. Then your next stop is Dalat, also known as the City of Eternal Spring because of its distinctive temperate climate. A place developed as a resort by the French in the early 1900s, this may seem like a tiny city, but it is one that packs a lot of activities and things to do. First up is the Crazy House. Created by Dang Viet Nga, the message she wanted to get out through the creation of this place is never limit yourself, to let your imagination run wild, and always think outside of the box. And that she definitely clearly conveyed. A place with a lot of strange but cool artsy pieces in the most creative and fun way. Being here really triggered my inner child for me just because of how it is. I can't explain it. You gotta go here to experience it. Next up is fairly similar to the Crazy House but a bar version, the Maze Bar, near the market center of Dalat, which I also recommend you checking out for any of your souvenirs or shopping needs. The Maze Bar is also known as the 100 Roofs Cafe, and it's probably one of the most unique bars you'll ever encounter. Also, it's very easy to get lost here. Just like Crazy House, there's a lot of cool pieces and rooms that it seems like the place just goes on forever once you start exploring it. This is a bar after all, so drinks are being served up while music is playing all around. I suggest going to the top as there are many places to hang out outside that offer spectacular views. Another must visit in Dalat is Ling Phúc Pagoda, a beautiful pagoda that's mainly built on fragments, porcelain, glass, and pottery. Inside the temple, you'll see the 18 levels of hell that symbolizes the 18 gates, an antique collection with a lot of valuables and extremely expensive items, souvenir shops, food stalls, and a zone of wax sculptures with a very zen-like feel to it once you walk in. If you're an adrenaline junkie, then this canyoning day tour is for you. A ton of abseiling, cliff jumping, and sliding down the stones with some awesome people is what makes this activity extremely fun. Up next is the Clay Village. It seems very staged and touristy being here, but if you actually appreciate art pieces and cool picturesque opportunities, this place is a must visit. The amount of work to sculpt this place is something I can definitely appreciate. And last but not the least, the 3 waterfalls in Dalat, the Tan La, Elephant, and Pangur. Your next stop is one of the most majestic cities in the country, Hoi An, also known as the City of Lanterns. A place that feels like you're stepping into a fairy tale because of a mixture of eras and styles, from wooden Chinese shophouses and temples to colorful French colonial architecture, along with a Japanese bridge and pagoda, and of course with a flavor of the Vietnamese culture as well, making it an interesting mix of all these beautiful cultures. Here's what I recommend you do in Hoi An. First up is to wander around ancient town. I highly suggest coming here during daytime and nighttime, as it is when the town comes alive. It also looks amazing with the lanterns being lit up everywhere. You could even go in boats and set off a lantern candle on the river. Next up is the Quan Kong Temple, also known as One Pagoda, a pagoda that was actually established by Chinese immigrants in Hoi An back in 1653. Other notable worthy sites to visit is the Old House of Tan Ki, Guandi Temple, Hoi Quan Phuc Hien, and the Old House of Feng Hung. This is the Japanese bridge. Unfortunately, when I went there, it was under construction, but it is an iconic site in the city of Hoi An, a bridge built in the late 16th century at the time of the Japanese immigration to the country. Now, if you want to indulge in the local food, head over to the Hoi An market. Come here first thing in the morning to experience an extremely vibrant market. In addition, make sure you try the Khao Lao, which is a special dish that is only served up here in Hoi An. Yep, that's right. Nowhere else in the country serves up an authentic Khao Lao but here. Another popular activity here is to do a basket boat tour, a tour that gives you the opportunity to experience the life in the countryside by doing cool things such as crab fishing and riding on a basket boat. As you continue to move up in central Vietnam, your next stop is going to be the big city of Da Nang. In fact, this is the largest city in central Vietnam and one of the country's most important ports. First on the list of things to do here is the Marble Mountain. I recommend coming here first thing in the morning to avoid the crowd if you like to have sights on your own. You'll have to climb up a set of stairs for breakfast, but trust me, it is well worth it at the top as you get panoramic views of the landscape, of the coast, and of course the group of 5 limestone peaks where the name is derived from. The 5 carts, called Ngu Han Sun in Vietnamese, that are named after the 5 elements: Kim, which is metal; Thuy, that represents water; Mok, wood; Hua, for fire; and Tho, for earth. These 5 mountains have a significance for the people here as it is believed to be a spiritual site. Also, there are plenty of caves here, and one of them being Hien Kong Cave, which is the largest and brightest cave in the area. For the next activity, you're gonna need to rent a scooter as you explore one of the highest passes in Vietnam at 496 meters or 1,627 feet, the Hai Van Pass. This could be done as a day trip, or you can make it a 1 to 3 day adventure from any of the 3 main cities starting in Hoi An, Da Nang, or Hue. The pass itself is only 21 kilometers, but the full distance between Hoi An to Hue is roughly around 170 kilometers. Hai Van means sea clouds, and you'll find out why if you decide to do the pass. When I was here, I chose to do the day trip from Da Nang, and I could say it is well worth it even just doing that 1 day trip. The next site is Sun Tra Mountain, situated on the Sun Tra Peninsula that overlooks the Bay of Da Nang and the East Sea, a natural reserve and home to many endangered species. Unfortunately, when I got here, it was overcast, so I couldn't see any views, but you are supposed to get panoramic views of the stunning landscape that surrounds it. Linung Pagoda is up next, a place built in 2004. It's a pagoda with a mix of contemporary and old traditional Vietnamese temples. This pagoda is also home to the tallest Lady Buddha statue, standing at 67 meters or roughly around 220 feet. From here, you get to enjoy breathtaking views of the peninsula and the surrounding mountains. Now, there are 2 bridges here in Da Nang worth visiting, and they are the Dragon Bridge and the Golden Hand Bridge up in Bana Hills. If you happen to be in Da Nang over the weekend, I suggest checking out the Dragon Bridge at night as they shut down the entire bridge and the dragon on the bridge does a little fire show. It's nothing special, but it's just cool to see everyone gathering and having fun at the event. The Golden Hand Bridge is a famous Instagram photo spot, but I decided not to come here when I was here as I heard it gets really packed even if you're here first thing in the morning, so I can't say much about it other than it's a cool looking bridge. If you're looking for a place to just chill out, I suggest heading to Mai Kay Beach, a great place to get away from the busy city streets of Da Nang but without being too far, offering smooth sand, palm trees, serene spots if you're looking for some downtime that also offers warm water that you could dip into all year round. What was once the capital of Vietnam from 1802 through 1945 and home to the Nguyen dynasty, the last royal dynasty of Vietnam, Hue is the next stop once you're done in Da Nang, a city with a lot of history and stories to be told that dates all the way back. For the first site, you're gonna visit Thien Mu Pagoda, originally founded in 1601 but was built in 1844 under the reign of an Emperor Thieu Tri, a 21-meter high octagon-shaped tower with each story is dedicated to a Manushi Buddha, a Buddha that appeared in human form. Next is a cool abandoned water park called Ho Thuy Tien, a water park that officially opened in 2004 but it was only half complete. It was intended to be the biggest water park attraction in the region. It cost about roughly around $3 million to build the park, but in 2006 it was forced to shut down as the funding came up short, so it was left as is. There are about 7 royal tombs here, but if you were just to pick one, I recommend the tomb of Emperor Kaidin. He was the 12th emperor of the Wen dynasty that reigned from 1916 through 1925. His tomb reflects the lavish life he led. The mausoleum is unlike any other because it's smaller in size, but it required the most time, effort, money, and design creativity for its construction. The flag tower is up next. This is a place that witnessed many events that played a key role in the country's independence. It also holds historical milestones and is a symbol of the ancient capital land as well. Nearby the flag tower is Imperial City, the capital city of the Wen dynasty from 1802 through 1945. A city built in 1362 that is surrounded by a complicated canal system that serves as a protection as well as a waterway. There are 10 main gates, which is divided into 2 parts, the Citadel and the Forbidden City. For any cave enthusiast, Phong Na is your next stop. There are over 400 caves here, so take your pick. You could go on an expedition, camping caves, or just go for walks. The largest cave in the world is also here, Hang Son Doong. Cave activities are essentially the main thing to do here, but if that's not your thing, the place is still worth visiting for its stunning landscape. I recommend renting a motorbike and riding through the countryside to experience the authentic beauty of this place. As you continue to move up, you will see a drastic change in terms of the beauty of the landscape, which is what the north of the country is known for. And the next stop proves just that. One of my favorite spots in the country, Ninh Binh. A true oasis for nature lovers, also labeled as the Halong Bay on land, a place with a jaw-dropping landscape and limestone mountains that stands tall over the rice paddies. To get a bird's eye view of the beautiful landscape here, you gotta climb over 500 steps. Here at the Hang Mua Cave. Mua Cave means dancing cave. The name was derived from a legend as King Tran would come to this place to listen to women sing and dance. This place also reflects religious values and the Vietnamese beliefs and Buddhism. The other thing you can do here is to do a paddle boat tour on the river in the town of Tam Kak. You hop on the boat with a local as they paddle with their feet and experience the beauty of the landscape as you cruise down the river. The other paddle boat tour I suggest you do is in Trang An, a similar concept but located in another town of Ninh Binh. It's worth it doing both, trust me. Trang An became a UNESCO site in 2014, home to a diverse group of people from the ethnic Kin majority, Mongolian and Hmong minorities. It's also home to many rare and endangered species. It has the longest underwater cave system in Asia, Han Ken. Unlike the other boat tour I just mentioned, where it follows a set route, the Trang An boat tour allows you to choose your own route, giving you 3 options. Route 1 offers 9 caves, 3 temples, and pagodas. You see all in the complex, but this is the busiest route because everyone ends up picking this one. It's roughly around 3 hours. For Route 2, you'll get to see 4 caves, 3 temples, and this is a perfect combination of caves and temples, and it's approximately 2.5 hours. This is actually the tour I ended up choosing. And then last but not the least, Route 3. It has 3 caves, 3 temples, and it also has the longest cave. This one is approximately 2 hours. Regardless of what you pick though, all 3 is guaranteed to make your jaw drop from its stunning landscape. The last thing to do here in Ninh Binh is Bich Dong Pagoda. The architectural design of the place appeared between the end of the Li dynasty and the beginning of the Wen dynasty. A total of 3 pagodas, Ha Pagoda, Chung Pagoda, and Thung Pagoda. It's believed that 2 monks found this pagoda in 1705 who prepared and restored the existing pagoda. Once you're done with the Halong Bay on land or Ninh Binh, next up is the real Halong Bay, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a hot destination for tourists when visiting Vietnam. You have the option of doing a day boat tour or a multiple day boat tour, but regardless, you will experience breathtaking landscape, seeing thousands of limestone islands with caves covered that have lush greenery. The next city is the capital of Vietnam, Hanoi. It's known for its centuries-old architecture that has a heavy Chinese and French influence, a vibrant city worth spending a few days or so. There are several things to do in the city aside from experiencing the vibrant streets, good eats, and cool rooftop places to watch the world go by, and one of them being the Instagram famous site, the train street. It is a cool experience, but it might be overhyped. But then again, that's just my opinion. But do check it out for yourself. The Hanoi Old Quarter is another good spot to visit. A lot of good eats and shops here for souvenirs. Aside from that, there are a ton of museums and sites worth visiting here if you're into that type of thing. Next, we're gonna continue heading up north to Sapa, offering lush greenery and breathtaking mountain backdrops. The main thing to do here is to do the local homestay, multi-day trek where you stay with a local Hmong family in their village up in the mountains while you get an authentic experience what life is like up here. This has been one of my favorite experiences in the country. And last but not the least, the Ha Giang Loop in the Ha Giang province. Next to Ninh Binh and Sapa, these places are definitely my top 3 favorites in Vietnam. If you haven't seen my Ha Giang Loop videos just yet, click on the video card up above to get an in-depth look at what the hype is all about. But the Ha Giang Loop is a 3 to 4 day, 350 plus kilometer bike loop in the northernmost province of the country. You will get close to the border of China and Vietnam. This loop is labeled as one of the most scenic rides in all of Southeast Asia, as well as one of the most dangerous because of its twists and turns. Narrow roads with little to no cliff barriers. That said, this is arguably the best thing to do in the country, so if you're gonna do this loop, which I highly suggest you do, the 4-day ride instead of the 3 to get the full experience. And in addition, this is not for first-time riders. If you are unexperienced on a scooter or riding, not to worry, you could hop on the bike of an easy rider so you could just hang back, relax, and soak in the views. Vietnam is a beautiful country worth visiting. A country that literally has every sort of activity and adventure for all sorts of travelers. Well, I hope you found this video helpful for your trip to Vietnam. And if you did, hit that like button so that the YouTube algorithm pushes this video out to others who are looking for Vietnam travel tips just like you. And make sure you subscribe to my channel for more travel videos like these. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.